folks. Welcome to No Tech Talk with Barb. Tips, advice, and consulting for your business's IT. I am your host, Barbara Paluszkiewicz. And for those of you taking notes, Paluszkiewicz is spelled the exact way it sounds. Paluszkiewicz. What I want to share with you today is how to protect and secure your business's IT systems and information. There is more data stored on cell phones and computers than ever before, and data is much more important than it used to be. How do you keep it all safe, especially when you can lose it all in a click, which I think will be faster than a blink of an eye? I'd like to introduce to you my producer, the infamous Howard Glassman of Humble and Fred Radio.
Well, thank you very much, Barb. Paluszkiewicz. Whew. I've been practicing saying Paluszkiewicz, which I know less about than I know about business IT, but I know you know about business IT. And I also know that in this world of IT, it's a rare bird that someone with the first name Barbara is part of the equation. So who are you, Barbara, and where did you come from, and what is CDN Technologies, and how do you keep my information safe?
Okay, well, I am the CEO of CDN and I'm also the author of IT Scams, How to Avoid Being Ripped Off. CDN Technologies is a managed service company in Mississauga, which essentially is an outsourced IT company, and we provide IT service and support and security to local companies here in Mississauga and throughout North America. I've been doing it since '89. I've seen lots of changes, some good, some bad, some ugly. Ransomware, cyber attacks, and viruses, those are ugly.
I'm curious, though, for the average person like myself who doesn't have a lot of experience in cyber attacks, what is it that what do most people not understand? The average person out there that's searching things on their computer, or even small businesses like our company, Humble and Fred Radio, is 5 or 6 employees. We all have access to some, information. What don't we know?
You know what? To sum it up in one word, FUBAR. People, businesses, you're FUBAR'd. You think you have a good backup, and you don't. You think those USB keys that you buy at Staples for $9.99 is a backup? No, it's not. You think those external hard drives that you buy for $69.99 from Staples is a backup? They're not. A backup system is when you can get your data back and keep your business up and running.
Well, why don't we have our, what do we use? Phil, our also helping to produce today is Phil Hong, who knows everything. Why is it? So we have a backup for the show,
yes,
and we back it up every so often. But why isn't that working for us?
Well, considering that CDN Technologies is here to help you out, you are solid. So let me get a little bit more general here. So you've heard about the mafia, right? We've heard about Hell's Angels. We've heard about the cartel. This is organized crime at its finest.
You're talking about cyber organized crime.
Any type of organized crime. Let's make it broad here. Organized crime in general. It exists. You might pretend that it doesn't, but we've all seen Breaking Bad, okay? So it does exist. So what happens is, even back in the olden days, it was really easy to rob someone. All you needed was a gun, a handkerchief, or a knife, and then you'd see someone and you'd say, stick them up. And the business person is the robber, and he takes your money and whatever it is that you have that he wants. That's how crime was done in the olden days. Now, every business wants to scale. They want to grow. And the way how you do that is always through technology. Technology helps you out. So back in the days of Little House on the Prairie and Mom, Pa Ingalls got robbed, if we talk about the train, and if you were on a train, you had big money. So you'd be carrying all of your valuables with you. You'd be on this train, you're loaded, and all of a sudden someone comes up and says, stick 'em up. One person gets to score with everybody on the train. You know what? Same thing would happen if we were taking the subway. If all of a sudden you were on a subway cart and someone hops in and says, everybody, stick them up. I want your money. And he points a gun. You're going to give it to them, whoever it is. Now everything is gone and lost. Back in the day, you knew who was robbing you. You saw the robber, okay? You knew that you were a victim. In today's modern age, because of technology, you don't know who it is. You don't know if it's someone next door living in their mother's basement. You don't know if it's a cyber ring, like, on the other side of the world. You don't know. But all you know is all of a sudden, on the screen, what you had is no longer there, and you can't get access to it.
So when somebody just backs up their information on a hard drive that we bought, where did we buy ours?
We went to Staples.
Thank you. So we had a hard drive. We back up the show every so often. You're saying that's not secure enough.
I can't believe you just said that. I tried to cover your ass, but you know what? It's okay. We got Rob Ray from...
I don't mind being exposed. It's my I don't even worry about my ass being covered.
You know what? And that's what everyone says. Like, they don't mind. They don't care. But in actual fact, if you couldn't produce this show...
Yeah.
You know what? If you couldn't do it, all of a sudden your ability to earn happens.
So, but tell me the difference between what CDN Technologies does and what the average person thinks they're secure in doing. Again, we went and bought our little terabyte hard drive, but what we really need is CDN Technologies. So when we back up with you, why is it so much more secure?
Because we provide enterprise level backup systems that you can't buy at Staples.
Right.
And this is, for lack of a better word, high-end shit that keeps your data safe and secure so your business can keep going, whether it's interrupted by a cyber attack.
Right. And when I think the average person doesn't realize how exposed they really are, that, they go about their business, they don't really know what you're talking about, and they think that they're covered. And one of the things that, we would recommend, if you're, obviously there are a lot of people in the business listening, but some of the people that they think they're secure, but what we get with CDN Technologies is some completely different experience.
You're absolutely right, because you see, every business network is like a Frankenstein network. It's been slowly been developed, and the solutions that people had, it's not the tools and tactics that were used in the 90s and the 2000s are not the same tools and tactics that are used today.
Is that because the cyber attackers have gotten more sophisticated?
Of course. These are educated people. They're doing the same thing that they'd be doing if they could have a job.
So all those people are thinking of new ways to hack into our information every day, and CDN Technologies has solutions and access to information and technology that keeps businesses safe.
Yes, because these attacks are automated. They are automated, rat-a-tat-tat type of gunfire, and they're happening all the time. And as humans, we can't keep up. So you need to have tools and security in play to make sure that you can counter those attacks.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's amazing. I know you've got this is the very first show, yes. Barbara's first podcast, Paluszkiewicz. I practiced that. And who do you have lined up for your very first guest?
Today we have Rob Ray from Datto. Rob Ray is the VP of Business Development at Datto, and he's also a Mississauga native and now travels the world on behalf of Datto, educating managed service providers, so companies like mine, people that provide IT security support, on how they can save and secure your business's data and IT systems. You know what? CDN Technologies is proud to be an approved Datto vendor, as Datto is the best provider of business continuity and data protection services. No matter where your data lives, Datto can protect it. So I'm very happy to have Rob Ray on the show, and he's going to talk to us how Datto protects your business's data against ransomware, viruses, and people, because there's always one person in the office that clicks on everything.
Well, I can't wait to hear what Rob has to say, because I think in the office, I think I'd be the person that just clicks on everything. I go, oh, perfect. I got a free trip to Mexico. Woohoo! We'll talk to Rob here in a second.
So joining me here today is Rob Ray from Datto. Rob, I really appreciate the time you're taking here with me today, and all the time in the channel. You're always so kind and wonderful and knowledgeable, and I really appreciate how much you've shared with me and how much you have to share with our audience on No Tech Talk with Barb. So with that in mind, I know you travel across the globe educating companies like CDN Technologies about how to properly protect businesses' backup systems. So where are you right now?
I'm actually in Sydney, Australia.
Woo! What is the weather like there?
Oh, it's always beautiful in Sydney. You can't complain. Although they claim it's winter and it's like 15 degrees. I'm wearing a T-shirt, but everybody else is wearing jackets.
That's awesome. Well, I can let you know that back home in your hometown of Mississauga, it's a sunny day here as well, and it's actually a little bit warmer than Sydney. We're at like 17. It's bright and sunny. The trees got leaves, and it's just a beautiful day. So
I'm sure it is.
Yes.
Every day in Mississauga is a beautiful day.
It is. So tell our listeners what Datto does for businesses, Rob.
So Datto is a backup and disaster recovery business, but it's actually a little bit different because as technology's evolved and changed over the years, data has become so important for businesses. So it's, we think about disaster recovery and disasters. People think of, hurricanes and fires and floods and stuff like that. But data's changed, and the way data is being used and the way data is being basically abused through cybercrime and stuff like that. We actually have more data protection, data security type services.
Cool. I actually have, this is going to be a throwback a little bit. I have Humble Howard from Humble and Fred Radio actually being my executive producer for my
Rob.
podcast.
How are you, Howard?
I'm fine, sir.
I love listening to you on the radio.
Of course you did.
I worship what you did.
Well, I appreciate it.
Time of my life, so thank you.
We're still not grown up yet, and you continue to worship me at your peril. Barb was explaining to me that what you basically do is you travel and you educate and you get people on board. Do you get tired of that? I mean, not the educating part. Is it tiring constantly being somewhere new all the time?
Well, you get tired of seeing the same hotels over and over again, but, I get to travel the world and see the world and talk about this stuff. It's actually quite exciting, so
right on.
I do love it.
And Rob, you're so good at helping MSPs serve businesses and secure like your small and medium-sized businesses that are out there, anywhere from like a mom and pop shop to like a huge enterprise that has like thousands of users. So all the good ones use Datto. So please tell me, what is the key benefit that Datto offers the end user, like my customers?
Well, I think so. What's happened is traditionally, when you look at data protection, it is something that has been kind of exclusive into the enterprise market. So larger organizations have had the ability, which is generally funding, to be able to afford, certain levels of security, which generally will cost like millions and millions of dollars to do. Small businesses and medium-sized businesses, especially in markets like Canada, haven't had the ability to afford solutions like that. What we do is we take that enterprise class technology and bring it down to small businesses so they too can afford data protection, data security, data recovery type services very quickly and, more importantly, very affordably.
Gotcha.
Yeah, are you getting another call, Rob, from a more important podcast? I doubt it.
I am the most important woman in Rob's life at this moment.
All right, you two.
Okay, so when I go out there and I'm chatting with businesses, I see a lot that people say, you know what, I'm backing up my data to a USB. I'm backing up my data to this external hard drive. And I always have to tell people that that's not really a backup. So why do you think people still keep doing that, Rob?
They do it because either they don't think there's another alternative, or they're not willing to kind of invest in what's new. And that's the important thing about technology is technology is constantly evolving. But as the technology evolves, the threat towards technology also evolves. And if we take a look at any typical business today, we pay insurance for fire, we pay insurance for our employees, we pay insurance for our facility that we're in. Why wouldn't you pay insurance for the actual data that your company is producing? And data is becoming more and more important as we head to things like the Internet of Things, and pretty much everything these days is producing data. And you look at all the security risks, and you look at the cybercrime and the cyber threats these days, that data is more important than ever before, more so because of what is in that data. And that data is super, super valuable on things like the dark web. People's passwords, people's dates of birth, identity theft, like those kinds of things are super critical. And as we interconnect with everything that's out there in the world through technology, we're exposing ourselves even more and more to those types of threats. And really, personal security is super, super important. And as a business, if you're producing or storing any of that data, protecting that data is super critical as well, because as an organization, if I'm storing that type of personal information, I'm accountable for protecting that. And I think that's where a lot of the risk for a lot of businesses comes in these days. And that's why, investing in new technology, especially to deal with the new threats that are out there, is also critical. And this is where the MSP, the managed services partners, similar to your organization, come in and can help small and medium-sized businesses with that threat.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for explaining so eloquently why data protection and security matters for all of these small to medium-sized businesses, these mom and pop shops, and these enterprise-level businesses that are located here in Mississauga and Canada and throughout North America. So, at the end of the day, what practical advice do you have for our listeners?
Well, like you talked about, using USB drives and external drives, and those are okay for storing files and folders. But at the end of the day, it's all about there's a couple different things. It's all about eliminating kind of the human element out of this. And actually, when we look at restores, when we look at we talked about disaster recovery, and again, like a lot of people think of fires and floods and tornadoes and hurricanes and all those bad things that can happen. But 97% of all the data restores are actually happening because of human error. Clicking on something, downloading something, letting something infiltrate your environment that's actually going to go and expose your potential, ultimate customer data. Those are the real threats that are happening today. And again, it's becoming worse and worse. And we see things like hacking and ransomware and all these terrible things that are really putting businesses at risk. And, that's where the disaster actually happens, is that human element. And by removing humans from this process and letting technology actually automate this and manage this and be able to recover from this is super important. But I think the other key to this is downtime. Like, downtime costs businesses more than even the potential exposure of the risk of losing data or the fines that come along with data. And that's ultimately what we do for small medium businesses. Is not only can you recover the data, but you can eliminate that downtime while trying to recover that data, because that's an extremely costly thing if your business is shut down for a period of time, whether it's a couple of hours or a couple of days.
Hey Rob, it's Howard here. Let me ask a hypothetical question. Let's say a business owner whose name rhymes with Howard has a company, and what if that person may or may not occasionally encounter a website, that basically I want to know, when I clear my browsing history, Rob, is that enough?
No, absolutely not. The threats around the internet are actually a lot worse than people think, and it's not the dangerous websites. We all know where not to go on the dark web. We all know not to explore into those areas and those little apps and things like that. But to be honest, thieves don't leverage that stuff. The thieves are trying to get into actual legit websites, and they will hack in, they'll write some code into there, and we've seen it happen over and over where it's a legitimate website, a functional company, something like, say, a restaurant, for example. it wouldn't be unusual for you to go and look at the menu for a particular restaurant for something that you're interested in going to. But somebody's hacked in and planted something devious on that actual site, and that can actually expose you. And as you click on things within that website, it actually exposes what's happening within your environment. There's very creative ways that these hackers and these thieves are actually getting into your environment, and it's not the traditional ways that we would traditionally think.
Gotcha. So, Rob, you've traveled the world. You've been with Datto for a long time. You've helped lots of MSPs, including myself, educate businesses that are out there. What is the most important thing you have ever learned?
Oh, that's a pretty open-ended, vague question.
I know.
We're just talking about as it relates to technology, not life lessons, maybe. I mean, always try your best. Don't take things personally. We get all that.
Yeah, no, I think the most important thing around technology is that it's constantly evolving, and education is super, super important. And for a typical small or medium-sized business owner, like you've opened this business, you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it because you're good at that. Technology is something that is moving, a million miles or kilometers per hour, and I think it's just super important that you leverage the people that are really good at this, and that comes from the channel community. Outsourcing IT, I think, is something that is absolutely critical. It's the only way that you can kind of stay on top of the new threats and the new ways in which people are attacking environments. But it also, through that education, also comes up with the new technologies that are there to help protect and actually defend against this stuff. I think that's probably the most important lesson is make sure that you're staying on top of this stuff. And if you can't stay on top of this stuff, outsource it to somebody that does.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me and Howard today. And at the end of the day, I think the most interesting point is that it all comes down to the end user and what it is that they click on. Because it's faster than a blink of an eye. And essentially, that's the way that you're going to get your data stolen from you, your ID stolen from you, and it's going to go out there. It just takes a click. And when that happens, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's very expensive. So I really appreciate the time you've taken from Sydney, Australia. I know that the time difference is crazy. And
it's already July there. It's weird.
And you know what?
It's tomorrow. By the way.
Thanks for educating our listeners on how to keep their business data safe and secure, because there's so much data out there these days stored across so many computers and servers and mobile devices, and everyone doesn't really care for it except when it's gone. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I'm proud to say that CDN Technologies is a managed service provider, and we use Datto devices to secure our clients and keep them safe. So if any of our listeners out there have any questions about their IT, backups, or vulnerabilities, feel free to give us a shout at 905-542-9759 or visit cdntechnologies.com. And you can always get me direct at barbrap.tv.